As I'm doing this, if give me just a second, I'll make sure you have the access to record. If you don't, you'll need to let me know as quick as you can. Got a couple more. All right, I think that's everybody on here. Does everybody have the ability to record who needs it? Hearing.
I get it, Kent.
Oh,
I need it too, Kent.
all right. Sorry. Your pictures keep flipping around on my in my screen here. So there we go. All right. Is that everybody? I think it is. All right. All right, Coach. Thanks for joining us this morning. Why don't we go ahead? I know we had some news this morning. Maybe you can address that, and then any other opening comments after follow up after the Baylor game the other night. So go ahead. It's all yours.
Yeah, obviously we just released. We got news this morning that Tennessee Martin has had a positive at this point in their program. So for safety and well-being of our student athletes as well as theirs, the game is canceled. Will not be played. We will not look to reschedule this game with them. So we will just move forward and start preparation then for our next opponent, and kind of had to restructure our weekend activities, obviously, as we've moved forward. But again, it's being able to do things with some flexibility and with some understanding and some patience that this was going to happen. I think we're looking at between a 20 and 25% clip of all games right now in college basketball are being canceled or postponed. So to say that this is abnormal would not be the truth. It's very normal, commonplace. And again, we're trying to feel very fortunate. We got our first four in, and excited about that. But we knew there would be some hiccups along the way, and realistically, this will not be the last one. So we'll move forward. Disappointed that we don't get to play, but again, that's this season and some of the challenges that come with that. So we faced a very, 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 very good Duke team, or a very good Baylor team. Duke's our next opponent. The other night, I was extremely impressed with Baylor. The more I've watched the film, the more excited I get about our team because of where Baylor is at. Their connectivity, their synergy. They're so old and so experienced. They don't play freshmen. They're not playing freshmen. That's an upper class team that's all been together. And for the exception of a really bad minute and 29 seconds, that took a really close, hard-fought game. They did what a veteran team does. They capitalized on our mistakes, and I was so impressed with their point guard. Mitchell's tremendous. I thought he was an absolute dominant player on the court, at both ends of the court. And again, I think there were some valuable lessons that we can grow from. And again, I was really pleased with our freshmen. I thought in their first real game, I saw some really positive things, and we can grow from that. A night which our offense, to be honest, was ugly at times, but we were still 1.05 points per possession, which is really good. Most of our problems came on the defensive end, and they were breakdowns, and those are things we feel good we can correct. And but I want to give Baylor a lot of credit because it was more about them capitalizing on our mistakes. And you can't make mistakes against good teams, and that's what our guys have to understand. And in most cases, it was our young guys, but we'll grow from that, and we've addressed those things, and now it's back to practice and then get ready for a very good Duke team on their home court.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up. Go ahead, Rob, you can start off. Paul Banks, you're on deck, and then Joey on deck in the hole. Go ahead.
Brad, I think a lot of people want to see as much Andre Curbelo as they can see, and you've kind of just addressed the issues, freshmen learning from their mistakes, defense mostly being the place where mistakes are being made. Could you talk about what the freshmen learned specifically from the last two games in the video they've watched?
Well, I think there's a couple great examples, Rob, and I think when you start looking at ball screen coverages and to not get overly detailed here, our bigs make certain calls and they have to make those calls, and guards have to make those adjustments. I think between Trent, Io, and DeMonte, I think they missed one call combined the entire game. And that's where we've got to grow. We've had, I think we ended up with 13 or 14 blown mistakes on ball screen coverages, which allowed them to do things that they wanted to do and us not dictate. And those are things that, again, just practice, repetition, urgency. And those are things that we've got to grow from. And that's why I say all the time, the defensive side of the court is where the synergy and chemistry has to happen. We played really good offense at times in the second half. And yet when we were trying to get back in it, we could never get a stop. And it was mistake. We had 6 consecutive mistakes and six consecutive trips. And that leads to nothing. A standstill. And so we've got to get that shored up and getting those young guys. They've never been held accountable in their life on the defensive end of the floor, and we've got to get that cleaned up.
And I assume that you're enjoying all of these wonderful teaching moments that you've been given in these last couple of games. What should we tell fans who want to see the process hurried up about how freshmen develop?
Sure. Yeah, you think I care about that? What the fans think? I really don't. So I don't. I'm one of the few coaches that play freshmen, and with freshmen there come learning curves and mistakes. And you don't get Davion Williams and Butler and Maceo Tig and Mark Vital. You don't get those guys as freshmen. We have to play against them. But I love our freshmen, and our freshmen are going to be terrific. How do you gain experience? You put them in games like Baylor. You put them in games like Ohio. You put them against veteran old teams. There was a method to our scheduling, and we know in a shortened season we've got to be ready. And again, we won't face a team all year like Baylor on the defensive end. That's that in your shirt and take things away, and yet they didn't make mistakes. And so patience, and yeah, we all think because they've got certain number of stars by their names that means they're going to be great. I think that's one of the most overrated things about sport is what level they are recruiting. I mean, it doesn't mean success. There's very few Zion Williamsons. There's not. There's more guys that struggle because the game's different, and that's why getting old helps. And we faced 2 of those teams in our last 2. So, Rob, I don't care what anybody thinks. It's patience. I believe in our guys, and they're going to be great. And they've all got great demeanors and great character, and they want to do the right things, and we'll clean that up.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, go ahead, Paul, and then Joey, you're on deck.
Good morning, Brad. Just kind of going off that topic a little bit. What are some of the things you've really liked from Andre and Adam from a fundamental specifically, and then conversely, what are some things you'd like to see them really improve upon?
Yeah, offensively, they're both gifted. I thought the one thing Curbelo did the other night was he had an unbelievable ability to get the ball in the paint. He plays north and south. And, he put fouls on guys. He was the one guy that, didn't over dribble. He got Kofi a couple easy baskets. His uncanniness on the offensive end is very unique. And then Ace has, as we call him Ace has got the ultimate respect. I mean, he's not getting a lot of clean looks or easy looks. And, he comes in with a reputation as a shooter and a guy that's can make hard shots. And he's gaining that respect and he's earned that respect. And he saw that firsthand in the Baylor game. I mean, there was no clean looks. Everything was contested. They both have ability on the defensive side, and it's just learning terminology and seeing that opponent across from you who's a really good player and knows what he wants to do. And it's just growing with that process. And believe me, those guys, and Coleman Hawkins as well, because I was extremely impressed with Coleman in the Baylor game. They're high IQ guys, so they'll get it sooner than most, and they've got a lot of pride.
And then as a follow-up, as the focus now shifts to Duke and that trip, what are some of the unique challenges, obstacles, challenges you're going to kind of work on as you prepare for that game?
I haven't studied 1 second of Duke yet. Again, everything has been Tennessee Martin, and I knew Tennessee Martin played 2-2-1, 3/4 court press, and played a lot of zone and beat Evansville and had a little guard. I don't know. I haven't even studied Duke's roster yet. I'm not one to work ahead. Obviously it's the history of Duke speaks for itself, and Coach K, but we'll tackle them starting here as soon as I get off with you.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, Joey, you're up. Brandon on deck. Go ahead, Joey.
Hey, Brad, when you have a game canceled like this, do you guys have obviously this is 24 hours before, but is there a general time or even a consideration where you can say, okay, maybe we can fill this gap on a short notice? Have you guys discussed that?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that we won't do that. That's unfair to really anybody. People have games set. I've talked to one Division I coach who's had 5 games canceled or moved, and he's literally working on 72-hour time frames to schedule games. And I think that's about the right the framework. What people have to understand, Joey, is we would not bring anybody in here in a non-league game who has not been under our testing. You gotta understand that it's why I was such a big proponent of league games only. Is then we know what the testing is, and if there is a positive, we know how to handle contact tracing. With these non-league games, we don't know how to handle any of that, and so we just cancel the game. And we can't afford to have guys out 21 days. We've got a league game December 15th, and that is the next game on our schedule, and December 15th conference games, and we want to be as healthy as we can getting through these non-league games, which we had to play. We want to get through those so that we can be as healthy as we can heading into conference, where at least we're all on the same page. We're all doing the same testing. Our officials are in the testing protocol. Now I go to bed every night. I say my prayers and hope that this doesn't happen, but knowing it's going to, and that it just doesn't affect our guys. There was no sense for Tennessee Martin to even think about coming. I wasn't going to play the game with them having positives.
So is it for you, I mean, after you play these non-league games, is it kind of a hold your breath for a couple of days as these test results come back? I mean, is there a level of nerves for you just because, like you said, there's no,
there's a level of nerves when we test, and we do 2 tests every day. I mean, we do our school PCR test, and we do the Big Ten antigen test. I mean, it's Christmas Day every time that thing comes back with a green dot on it. And it's, that's how fragile our season can be. And yet when you've got teams that aren't testing every day, which us in the Pac-12 are the only teams testing every day, it's scary as hell. Knowing that for us, 21 days out, if we get a positive, you think about how fast these games come, and you think about going into a game and not having certain guys, and multiple games because it's 21 days. So there's no thought about, trying to play a game or schedule a game on a quick turn with somebody that's not up to our standards.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, Brandon, you're up, and then Jeremy on deck. Go ahead, Brandon.
Revisiting the Baylor game for a sec, why do you think Andre was able to have so much success?
Well, he's a magical ball handler. I mean, he's got what you don't coach. I had that with Juwan Evans. Juwan just has an unbelievable knack in ball screens, and he can read them. We won't face a defender all year, it was my guess, like Mitchell. And Mitchell was the MVP of the game. And Preston scored some buckets. Mitchell was the MVP of the game. He never missed a call. He never missed an assignment. He's so strong, so athletic. And yet, Curbelo did a great job of getting, of creating some gaps against him. And he's just got that knack. He's a very, very gifted player. He threw a couple skips. Ace got a couple shots off that were good looks against him. And it's he plays with great change of pace, and he's very low center of gravity. So yeah, he's gifted that way, Brandon.
As a coach, do you feel like a level of comfort maybe when he's out on the court kind of controlling the offense?
On that end, I do. There's no doubt. For when you get guys like that, it's simplicity. Simplicity is the best thing, and knowing that we had the number one rated offense in our second. I think we were second in 14 years. We had the number one rated offense at Oklahoma State with Juwan, and you'd be surprised how little we ran. I mean, it was all based on speed. We averaged 80 a game. It was all based on speed, and then it was spacing and letting him make the right plays. And so there's a lot of similarities to that, and he's going to be great, and he's going to be great sooner than later. But there's an adjustment period here that literally all freshmen go through.
Thanks, Brad.
Morning, Brad. I'm speaking of that adjustment period. You mentioned the other day he had a concussion, was out for 8 days, I believe. How did that impact him, and how did that happen? And can you kind of take me through that?
Jeremy, he's hardly practiced. He rolled his ankle. He had a good amount of swelling. He's a tough kid. And he's playing. I told him the other day that the best thing that happened to him going into the Baylor game was he did roll his ankle, because it actually slowed him down just a little bit. But any day a freshman misses practice is a loss. And you're just trying to form habits, and you're trying to create through repetition things that they'll see. And going into a game with 3 elite guards that are going to put you in a lot of ball screens every day that he missed, is detrimental to him and our team. And so yeah, that's I feel bad for him that way. But now hopefully he can get some good footing here in terms of being in practice and avoiding those things. So he's literally missed probably 10 or 11 days of practice time here in the last couple of weeks.
And just how have you seen him fit with your guys who've been together? I mean, you got so many guards who've played so much together and built chemistry. How has he kind of worked in with them, and how do you think he makes them better, or how he fits in?
They all love playing with him. I know that. And Jeremy, prior to his concussion, he'd been really, really good in practice. And he's such with the pace we want to play, he ignites us in transition. And we know, Io was the 3rd leading scorer in the country last year in transition. And a lot of those came on pitch aheads. Nobody does it better than Curbelo. And, and then, when Io would get a rebound and be in the open court, that's he's electric there. But you know, the one thing Curbelo does at an elite level is when he doesn't have the ball, he breaks down a closeout better than a lot of people I've seen. He's just very gifted that way. So it's not just with the ball. He does a lot of things away from the ball once he gets it that allow him to create easy opportunities. And he's so unselfish. You know, he made the comment today, a couple days ago, he said, you know, I don't care if I score. If I could have 50 assists in a game, that would be my dream game. And wow, not many people think that way. So, but his time's coming.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, Scott, and then Derek Piper. Go ahead, Scott.
Morning, Brad. I guess since you're not going to find a game for tomorrow on a 24-hour turnaround, are you going to look to schedule another non-conference game at some point, I guess in December still, or are you just going to go with the 6 you have?
No, we will not try to do anything with anybody else non-league. You know, I think the one thing that we will potentially look to do is schedule another conference opponent at some point, particularly probably one of our singles that we play, and try to fill in. I'm all about trying to get our guys the maximum number of games so they can have the best year possible. And, you know, the league has built in some opportunities to do that. So whether it's a Purdue, Michigan State, Iowa, and we'll just wait. There's really no date available with conference play starting December 15th. I'm not a huge fan of playing non-conference opponents in league, and especially this year with the risk of COVID and their protocols being different than ours. I won't do that. I'm going to think about the health and safety of our guys trying to navigate a conference season rather than one non-league game.
Okay. And with Andre, he said, you know, the ankle maybe slowed him down a little bit against Baylor and wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Is there a happy medium for him where he's still putting pressure on teams in a full court, half court, but, you know, not so much where he gets a little bit out of control himself and maybe has the turnovers he did, you know, last week?
Yeah, most of his turnovers are coming on traveling. And again, that's a little bit of an international. He's got a move that he gets away with in all international competition, and it's being called a travel. I have to at some point I'm gonna have to fight a little bit for it because I don't think it's a travel, but it looks bad. But again, freshmen turn the ball over. The game will eventually slow down. It's really slow for him anyway. But again, he was pretty good the other night against Baylor, and all that pressure of not turning it over. So he'll settle in.
Thank you.
All right, and then Derek Piper and John Supini. Go ahead, Derek.
Hey, Coach, you talked about it with Baylor. Not many teams are going to give Io those kind of problems in pick and roll on ISOs. But with the way that Curbelo's come along, does it allow you to think about different ways to get Io open, maybe off the ball? How much are you exploring that? And especially when a team might try to bottle up Io like they have when he's on the ball.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's one of the things that we did last year that was great. You know, whether Io was coming off a DHO, a dribble handoff, whether he was coming off a stagger screen and playing to get the ball. There's no doubt. And Trent, Curbelo, even Adam. Man, Adam can do some things that with the ball that help alleviate that. So we've got to work through some of those things yet. But you know, I think again as we go, I think we'll start to see everyone kind of settle into some roles here.
And one more, Io said going into that game that veterans that have been there know what to expect. Freshmen just kind of have to feel it out based on instinct. Did you know that Coleman's instincts were to play that hard or that tough? Is that something that you learned about him, or had you seen that out of him in practice?
No, he's had moments in practice, and again, it's the one thing we've asked Coleman to do is literally play two positions. So his learning curve has been greater in some areas. Eventually, he's going to be a small forward. He's going to play a lot on the wing for us. So I'm excited for him. I became a believer. He gave me a lot of confidence the other night going in and fighting. He ripped a ball right out of their hands. He's a fanatic in the weight room. He's starting to tear that thing up with Fletch, and we see his strength. And that's all he is away, really, from being a great player. And we'll start to see his confidence shooting. He gives us some pick and pop things that we desperately need as well. So I'm excited. Coleman's going to have a great year for us, and his role will continue to expand.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, John, and then follow up with Joey. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Coach, how much has this shortened, this abbreviated non-conference season, how much has that kind of stunted the growth of the freshmen that would normally get more time and more games?
I think we'll see how that all plays out at the end. It's given us a little bit of urgency. I think one of the challenges, again, playing Baylor's, playing Duke's, playing Missouri's, we knew Ohio was going to be a game. You don't get some of those games where guys can really settle in and gain some confidence and gain some playing time, court experience. And yet at the end, I think that'll be very beneficial, is the fact we played great people, so they'll have seen everything. Yeah, we'll see. It's changed it. There's no doubt. The missing a lot of the fall was detrimental because we didn't do anything in big groups, nothing as a team. We did everything in very small groups to avoid COVID. So that was very different for them and probably hurt them and from the team concept of what we teach. But they're going to be fine. They'll be fine, John.
Okay, and then Joey, go ahead, Joey.
Hey, Brad, you mentioned the possibility of adding another Big Ten game. My guess is you didn't say that just speculating. Has there been talk in the league about that possibility opening if there's been cancellation?
Yeah. And I think we all expected games to be canceled. And, again, I think that Rick Boyages and the league office, that was one of the things that we talked about, was the possibility of adding that a potential game against a conference opponent just for sheer safety, and knowing that we're going to get a like opponent in terms of the testing. And it's all about trying to play as many games as we can, as safe as we can, and with the officials, with the league opponents all doing the same type of testing, that gives us the best chance. So we'll look and see how that works out. And again, we're infant stages of this cancellation and having to navigate and migrate through all of it. We'll handle it from there.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, Scott, and then Matt Stevens. Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, Brad, how does your day-to-day schedule change over the next few with a game off at this point?
Yeah, we ended up taking today off. Obviously, that's we got back at 2:30 in the morning from Indy. We had to go straight into testing from there, getting off the bus, go into a test, so that we didn't have to get up at 6:30 or 7 in the morning. So yesterday was, and the guys are still in class, and so we went yesterday on an abbreviated practice early evening, and then we'll just give them today off, and then tomorrow we get up in the morning, we test, and then we'll lift practice, and it just kind of gives us an extra day, I guess, for working on ourselves before we jump into Duke on Sunday and Monday.
Okay, Matt Stevens, you're up.
Brad, on Kofi's foul trouble the other night at Baylor, is it simply just a habit thing with him? Or I mean, it's not something he does every game, but is it something where he gets magnified just being 7 feet, 290, and he's got to play differently, or because he's getting officiated differently? You know, what's your thought process on trying to keep him out of foul trouble?
So am I. You know, there's no hiding the fact he's unusual, because there's not many guys who are like him, and that are that strong. There's a couple of those that you know were debatable, but again, they also had their front court guys with a couple fouls real early as well. And I don't know, I can't get into commenting on all the officiating stuff, but you know, a lot of it is some early positioning stuff, which we're working with him, especially in the ball screen stuff. But he picked it up one on an offensive rebound that, you know, I didn't see, but you know, we need him on the court. There's no doubt about that. And you know, again, Georgie gave us a great backup and was dominant in there, so I didn't have to put him back in that first half, which I was prepared to do, actually. So again, we need him on the floor, but he's unique. There's no doubt about that.
I didn't mean to get you in trouble with officials. I just kind of wanted to know if it's just bad habits out of Kofi that you want to break, or is it just kind of random stuff?
Well, he's got some we're trying to break, especially in terms of some of his what he's trying to do in ball screens. He's trying to, you know, he's going after too many shots to block instead of just staying square. But you know, he's not picking up a lot of fouls in those. It's you know, it's an offensive rebound where you can't go over somebody's back. You got to spin off. But you know, for the most part, he's been pretty good about staying out of foul trouble throughout most of his career. But we could have used him the other night. There was no doubt.
All right, Coach. Thank you for your time today. That'll wrap it up here. Because of the change in schedule, we'll have to reschedule Curbello's. Derek will reschedule that probably maybe a different day, since today's an off day for the team. So Derek will be getting information out on that rescheduling as soon as he can. So thank you, Coach. Appreciate everybody. That'll be the end of it today.
Have a great weekend.